If you are into this time of season and you're really looking for something a bit spooky, but maybe on the shorter side, just in case you don't know how much you're willing to invest in a scary book, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I will be covering I Found the Boogeyman Under My Brother's Crib by Ben Farthing. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're taking a look in a series called I Found Horror Series. This is by a friend of mine, Ben Farthing. This is the fifth book in this series, and I'm sure that this series will continue onwards because each of the books are really unconnected from each other, at least in terms of characters and storyline, but they are connected in terms of a general sense of not just horror, but a particular type of horror. I would say that at least the ones that I have read dig into the human psyche in a way that is not always characteristic of all horror books that I have read, which admittedly are not many. It is this time of year, and I do like to add a little bit of horror to my reading list, and also, like I said, because Ben Farthing is a friend of mine, and I think he does this quite well. This book is only, let's see here, less than 91 pages. Yes. And if you enjoy it as much as I did, like I said, there's 4 more in the series that you can read. I've already done a review for another one of them. I Found Puppets Living in My Apartment Wall, which I will put a link to in the description. And I must say that that one is also very good. This one, just to give you a very quick synopsis, one of the great values of these books is that because they are short, the synopsis is generally pretty easy to give. It starts out from the beginning. I suspect all of his books in this shorter novella genre are start right away with something pretty intense, and this one does too, talking about how I saw a boogeyman is the very first line. And that is going to be the direction that the book goes. There's a young girl, like she's 16, her name is Rachel, and she is drawn to her younger brother's room when she hears a scream. She goes in and she says that she sees some kind of, actually the smile is the thing that she comments on. And this, terrifies her. She calls for her parents. Her parents come, and they immediately tell her there's nothing to worry about. There's nobody here. Why would you wake us all up? This is a waste of our precious, precious bedtime. And you discover that that's actually going to be a big part of the storyline, is how much the family sleeps. Her parents are, I guess, very motivated, and they also have this weird sense that you only need 5 hours of sleep. And Rachel has just started that for, I guess, the last 6 months or so, that she has been required to only get 5 hours of sleep. And then when she's awake, she is meant to be a very productive member of the household. And so they think that maybe she's having a hard time adjusting, or maybe she's just not willing to admit it. And so that becomes a bit of the storyline. This continues, and I will let you read to find out the rest. There's not a whole lot more I can give you that I don't feel like is going to give you away too many storylines or plot points. But I do want to say that it's not just an issue of the boogeyman, which I will let you decide how real or not that is in this book, but it is, again, a question of her relationship with her family and expectations. The fact that she's only supposed to get 5 hours of sleep is obviously hard on her, but even harder is the fact that she feels like she's letting her parents down whenever they have any kind of miscommunication about it, or whenever she feels like she needs to take a nap. You will soon discover that her neighbors are also very quirky, and that she has a friend-ish named Landon that lives next door, although their relationship's a little odd, and you will of course see that play out over these very fast and action-packed 91 pages. It's a short book, so I really don't have a ton to say. I will say that I think this is for people that are looking for not just a bit of horror, but a bit of horror that has a little bit of family dynamics in it. I think that's something that Ben does very well in his books, all of them that I've read. I feel like the familial relationship is a big part of it. There is a common trope that parents are the least helpful people in a scary story or in a horror picture, and so I will let you see how that plays out in this book. I will also say that this is for people that want something quick. It's not quite a single sitting read, but you could probably knock it out in maybe 2 sittings, or 1 sitting if you really have that much endurance. I would say that it's very action-packed, so definitely if you're comfortable and have a snack, you could knock this out in 1 sitting. Who wouldn't I say this book is for? Well, if you're not a fan of horror, then this isn't going to be for you. Although I will add the caveat that I do think that this is a good introduction to the genre, at least as far as I know. I haven't read too terribly much horror, so I can't say for sure, but I think the fact that Ben from the get-go has this line to pull you in, and he never really stops. I mean, the action and the interest continues to go from there. There's no lull, there's no slow moments in this book, and I would say the same about the other one in the series that I've read. And so I would say for sure that even if you're not sure horror is for you, there's those elements that maybe you might make you a little cringy, or just you don't like being scared. I could definitely see why this book wouldn't be for you, but I could also see how this could be a nice book to bridge the gap for people that are a little more genre curious, but they're not quite ready to take on a full book. At least that's been my policy with the other book in this series that I've read as well. And so that's where I would land between who I would and wouldn't recommend it for. I obviously think it's a great type of book to read for this time of year. It's what draws me into these types of books. I will probably still read another one or two of them before the season ends, and I will let you know about my opinions on the genre of horror just a little bit more. If you have read this book, please let me know your thoughts on this book. If you've read any other in this genre or in this specific series or anything else by Ben Farthing, please let me know in the comments your thoughts. I think that he is a very talented writer, and I especially think that he is very good at drawing people in, but I really want to know what other people think. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.